Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Unified Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier. We are ready to get into a whole new series. It's a whole new world. If you're just now joining us, Travesty joined here with Smats, Bacon, and Qualifier. Gents, we've got a fun series in front of us here. Golden Gardens Academy, IMT, coming up behind that fun series from 100 Thieves and Winthrop. So first, we're going to go ahead and start it with my boy Smats here. Smats, how you feeling going into this series?
I think this is going to be a really close one. No offense to Winthrop. I think this one will probably end up being closer than the last series. I would expect it to go to 3 games as well. I think both these teams are coming in pretty hot. Immortals in specific has not lost a single game since their first best of 3 in the tournament, which I think is a really big deal. That's also true of 100 Thieves Next, who they just won and made it to finals. So, math.
Basic math. The formula is there. Equally, my boy, Qualifier, you looked like you were a little bit impressed by the equation. Do you have an equation of your own that you've been running here?
Yeah, so, I mean, first, I want to give a little credit to Winthrop. They did make those games closer than we thought they would be, but definitely, I mean, if people are expecting close games for this series, and they're even closer than expected, we're going to have some real bangers on our hands. And very similar to the last series, like I was saying, the last series, like, oh, these teams are trying to poise themselves, you know, to be at the top of the bracket, right? This is super big because these two teams are close. People don't really know like where they exactly lie, and so they can really stake their claim here and get the opportunity to prove themselves against 100 Thieves Next, which could be, you know, a big deal for momentum moving forward. So this matchup is really hype.
Can you hold all these bangers that are in your hands right now? Apparently,
Like I said, following up of what Smack said, I think this series is going to be a lot more close than it was. From the last set of series, I think we're really going to prep for a Game 3 series. Yeah, like Qualifier said, this is going to be like a stepping stone going into the finals to see which team can really separate themselves amongst these 3 teams now that are left in the rest of the tournament.
One's an academy team, one is that LCS affiliation. We want to go ahead and start looking at some of these head-to-heads here between these 2 squads looking to tango with one another. And we're going to start up with the top side of the map, as we've got a little bit of a story here between Tony Top and Anime Girl. Qualifier, if you would.
Yeah, so this matchup should be super interesting. Both the players are relatively new. Tony Top's been around a little bit longer. Anime Girl is very fresh, but you know, they're 2 sort of more decently young players who are really trying to make their mark as some of those top players. You know, it's hard to have the same momentum behind you as a player like General Sniper, but that's where they're trying to build to, right? And this series could be huge for either of them, right? Tony Top cementing himself as, you know, really one of those tops to look out for in Academy, and Anime Girl, this new fresh face on the scene, saying like, hey, come on, put me in Academy already, right? Like, I'll play an amateur a little bit, I'll have some fun, but get me up there. You know, it has amazing KDA, amazing damage per minute. The CS per minute is a little bit lower. That's because Anime Girl's played a few tanks. I remember watching Anime Girl Mundo the other week. That went a little bit crazy, but, you know, not as crazy power farming, right? So this matchup should be super interesting and should be very indicative of how this series is going to go.
And looking at it, there's another role that I'm very interested in. Not because I'm biased, because, you know, I play support, but looking at the support role, there's been a very fun storyline. We've had a very fast improving support on one side, and we've had somebody who has been staple, just very good over on the other side. Smats, these 2 players here from IMT and Golden Guardians Academy, they're about to clash against one another.
Yeah, the supports on these teams are really interesting. I think it's no secret that they are in lane with 2 really solid AD carries in Stixay and Meech. But both of these guys have had some ridiculous roams. You can see that Chime is almost at 75% kill participation by himself. That is super, super insane, just getting around the map the entire game long. I've also been really impressed by Trevor's mechanics, specifically on this Thresh that we're showing right here. His Thresh has been top-notch. Every single time that you get into a skirmish with this guy, you know you are going to get crowd controlled by this champion. I would personally expect that if Golden Guardians are coming into this series, they're probably going to look at that champion to ban away, or perhaps play this counter pick that Chime has been locking it into the Thresh as well with the Blitzcrank. I've really liked that counter pick for him. His roams have been really solid with this pick as well. I think these two players are some of the peak mechanics that we're going to see across all 10 players in the series.
Now, Fagan, do you agree? Because we have the roster right here. Is there a spot that you're keeping your eyes on?
I like to draw my eyes and my attention towards more so the jungle side of this match is going to be played out, because Iconic and Winston are both two players that are rather veteran compared to like a lot of other people currently in Amateur and Academy, where they've both been playing for years at around the same level. Iconic has some LCS experience on Golden Guardians, and Winston's been around with like some TSM Academy experience and dropping back down to Amateur. But like the strength of both of these players is how much they're willing to actually play to their teams. And I kind of like to think of this matchup as like two duos in a way, where Immortals has a really strong duo, like inseparable between Meech and Trevor, because these two have played together for forever. Like they've been a ball lane duo that's been very, very solid. Whereas the side of Chime and Iconic, you can see from Chime's kill participation that they're a lot more proactive in like making plays together, which is why that their KP is so high. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of how GG controls the map, whereas how Immortals plays through their strengthened bot lane duo.
Now, I have to ask you, is Winston a madman for the way he's been ganking? This person's been like level 2 Diana ganking people, like straight up. Like, is it okay? Is everything all right?
The name of the game is that jungle is weak this season. All right, I'll just come out and say it. Crab has been removed from the game. It doesn't matter if you get both crabs. If you get both first crabs, they give less XP than a normal camp. So all you got to do is just sack everything for your laners, because we're in like a Jinx Victor Corki meta, bro. Jungle is weak. Pick your Jarvan. Pick your Xin Zhao. No more carries.
A man after my own heart, really.
Yeah, you can see like Winston's playing Diana like these other characters, because it doesn't matter anymore. Your farm as a jungler doesn't matter. Jungle diff is laner diff. I'll put it down.
The best champion with Smite right now is Janna, so you might be
It's
honest.
Janna, baby. Like.
Janna followed by like what? Karma
We
and
gotta
then
get Lolo
Zillion.
on here. To see
Yeah, we
that
do.
He's been running a tear.
Well, seeing as things could go into this, talking about people who might have things right, we have things that might be a little bit more split apart, and it's the caster predictions. I want to go ahead and throw over to that, because this was actually split up pretty decently going into today's matchup, and y'all were talking about how hyped up, how close it may be. Some may say banger on our hands, as here it is, and you can see it's more in the favor of Golden Guardians Academy. How do y'all feel about that?
It makes sense. They're the Academy team on the block. The only team that they've lost to is 100 Thieves next, and that was in the open qualifier. And Immortals has had some struggles throughout this tournament. They did lose their first series right off the bat to the Throppers, by the way. I personally, despite all of those things, am actually favoring Immortals just slightly in this series. I really do believe in their momentum, their improvement that has been really steady all throughout. I firmly believe that their bottom lane is one of the best mechanical duos that we have in this entire tournament, and I do actually think that they have a pretty solid advantage in top lane. Now, you might look at that and be like, wow, are you kidding me? Like, Tony Top's really solid. I think he's really good when he has counterpick, and that's not always something that he can get. Anime Girl is going to be on red at least once in this series if they do want to be, if both teams want red, which I think they should. And in those instances where we've seen Tony Top play blue side and play blind pick, it's not looked as good. Whereas we haven't seen that same inconsistency from Anime Girl. So I think the floor for these players a little bit higher for Anime Girl. I definitely admire that consistency from this player. He's been really wowing me in the laning phase and in the team fights.
Fakin, how are you feeling going into the series? You agree with Smets?
I'd agree that the series is going to be kind of close, but I think it might more so lean towards the side of Golden Guardians. I think if they're going to win, it's going to be a 2-1 on their favor. Mainly just through how I expect them to play through the map and actually provide those resources to players like Tony and to play through mid lane, where like they have an impressive bot lane for sure on the side of Immortals, but you need more than just one strong side to win games consistently.
Yeah. And Fire, you feeling the same? Where are you vibing?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much gonna have to echo what Bacon is putting out there. I think that Immortals have some really strong threats, right? Their bot lane, the fact that Winston is this crazy ganker going over the place, right? Anime Girl, super solid. But when you look at their matchups, it's like, okay, Meech Trevor have to play against Stixay Chime, right? It's not going to be easy, right? Winston's going up against one of the most veteran players in Amateur Academy with Iconic, right? Who has this LCS experience. So I think, while they were maybe able to pull these things off against teams that, weren't quite as strong on paper, these are going to be some tough matchups, and they're going to have to really, really execute well to come out on top. And I think Golden Guardians has the slight edge.
Slight edge being built there. What do you think? Use the hashtag #WeAreUnified to let us know what you think. Anything about the matchup that you want to know. Your most private questions. Mine, personally, is who is Anime Girl favorite anime girl? That's what I really want to know. That's my deep question that I want to present to the audience. So make sure you go ahead and use that. We are unified. Use it to whatever means you may possibly have. You can repeat my question too. Let's see what we can find out together. But speaking of together, we have a series to get on our hands. Apparently the banger is here. So, ladies and gents, Jolly, Beatdown, take it on away.
Thank you, Travesty. I think Beatdown, I'm pretty sure this is the first time that both of our predictions have actually lined up. Because we both went with GGA on this one, right? This is
Yes. Yeah.
I guess it's only out of the two series, right? Normally we have the two kind of on the Academy stream, we have the two on the Unified EA stream. But I think I'm pretty certain this is the first time we have decided that the same teams are gonna take this one.
Yeah.
But I do think, there's a lot to be said about Immortals. The Dust did a great job of talking about Winston, Anime Girl in particular. You and I were just talking about last week. We got to cast them during the quarterfinals against, it was Taco Gaming, and it was the Tryndamere pentakill that we ended up seeing here out of Shochi. So definitely something that I'm assuming Golden Guardians is not really going to want to let that one through, because we have seen Tryndamere actually picked even earlier on. UCI picked Tryndamere. The game did not go in their favor, right? So they ban out Tryndamere. It's going to start out pretty standard, though. Golden Guardians is on the blue side here to start things out. The Thresh is taken away here from Trevor Roy, so no pickup for them. Smart move by Golden Guardians, and they will block another champion that is just too strong right now in the early parts of the game. You really can't let it go through.
And of course, the 6A ban, aka the Ezreal ban, is coming through. You got to put some respect on his name. The dude's win rate on the champion is actually absurd here. And I agree with Smacks. This is definitely going to be the closer of the two series we have on the night. It's going to be really exciting. I think IMT AOE, even though I didn't say they were going to win, they definitely have a pretty good shot at doing so. And I agree, this is going to be a Game 3 series, almost certainly. I think especially because IMT are a team where it is going to be a little draft dependent, but they like to look for a lot of these early jungle skirmishes using their jungle support timers. And what they end up doing is that if Winston and Trevor manage to find these angles in the early game, more often than not, they will ride that all the way to a win here. And I think that's how they're going to end up taking a win, maybe two, off of Golden Guardians Academy. And that's why I like the Thresh pick being taken away, because even though Trevor's mechanics have been good overall, they've been particularly just exquisite on the Thresh pick. So now we're going to see what else he's going to grab for himself. Of course, things like Leona, Nautilus are still up on the table.
Yeah, Enchantresses have been really strong, but I think you and I kind of agree that when it comes to having a front line, having crowd control, right, you might as well put that into the hands of a support as opposed to forcing like your top laner, for instance, onto an initiator or somebody who can throw down some crowd control and offer that front line ability, soak up some of the aggro. Golden Guardians is going to lock in their first pick right here. It's going to be the Twisted Fate for Ryoma. We've been seeing a lot of the Twisted Fate, a lot of the Victor coming through from this player. They are incredibly strong right now, but Ryoma is absolutely a standout in the mid lane. I mean, across really all the teams in Proving Grounds here.
Yeah, the flexibility, like the different looks we've seen from this player and subsequently GGA as a whole is so impressive. I mean, Ryoma, really strong player. I believe it was last year. He spent all of last year on 100 Thieves Academy. Now he's here on Golden Guardians, and the dude is nuts. Last week, he played the Lucian to absolutely just dismantle, rip apart the no team and Blaze in the mid lane. And now this time around, he can also play really well on these Twisted Fate picks, that ability to shove, try to help other parts of the map and try to get them ahead so you can play for these other lanes.
Yeah, it's of course the Destiny that's really going to come in handy for GGA, because they're a team that wants to try to push hard and heavy from the early parts of the game, right? They look for some of those sneaky plays. As soon as that Destiny is up and available, it's something they're going to go with. And I do like to see the hover over this for Stixay. Of course, we're talking about standout players, right? Sure, you're not going to get the Ezreal. The Caitlyn is just kind of perma-banned. We rarely see the Caitlyn come through unless there is already a response kind of in the pockets or in the hands of the opposing ADC. But Aphelios is huge. Man, the Calibrum, the amount of damage that you're capable of doing with that, following it up with, I mean, the long range on the ultimate is super helpful for a lot of these team fights, to where Stixay is going to be able to stay safe, stay back, stay near Chime. And Chime is, honestly, I was just looking at it, the longest lasting player on GGA. This is all, you know, a new roster for this Proving Grounds. Last Proving Grounds was completely different. And hey, there's a reason that Chime is still on this team, right, P-Town?
I mean, honestly, Chime is so good. Like, he should be in the LCS, if I'm being honest. Like, this dude is an insane player. They highlighted the Blitzcrank when they were talking about him on the desk. The dude is nuts on that pick here, and that's why I'm really interested in what supports we're going to see Immortals AOE go for here. I mean, we're going to see the Victor, so you have the Victor Jinx, a lot of late game scan, a lot of late game, just hyper carry potential here, and I imagine both teams are just going to start to pinch out a bit on the top pool and a bit on the support pool, especially on GGA side, being able to take away more engaged picks for Trevor. And I wonder if they're going to end up going the Enchanter route, just because of the fact that, you know, you could technically go Lulu if you wanted to try and buff up the Xin. The shields will be really nice later on, considering you're going to be outranging GGA for the most part. The thing that's interesting to me, though, is because that means Chime, unless it's banned away, will likely go for the Blitzcrank here. And I actually think the pick potential would be kind of insane, especially when you consider the two immobile carries on the side of Immortals AOE. So it's already shaping up to be a pretty solid Blitzcrank game. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and we know that these supports are kind of the sacrificial lambs, right? If it's a situation too where you've got like a roam coming out of Chime, for instance, coming down, you're going to be able to pull anybody away potentially from the ADC, and that's where that support says, hey, you know what, I will die for you. It doesn't really matter. We are going to see the Nautilus ban though, and of course on the other side, Immortals says, hey, we don't want to allow something like the Braum to come through. We already talked about how busted Concussive Blows is as a passive on that champion. The Renekton targeting Tony Top, he's been doing incredibly well on the Renekton, even into counter pickups and things like that. So you got to consider too that, man, this top lane is going to be a pretty big point of contention, but just like the last series, I can imagine we're going to kind of go to the old days of this island in the top lane. We are seeing the hover on the Lulu.
Are they going to do it?
They're going to lock it in.
Come on. Blitzcrank. Let me see it. Of course, it makes sense. Immortals AOE, they want to give that they have to pick support here. Give Anime Girl the best matchup here on 5 into Tony Top. And I mean, there's still a lot of good top lane options here, but we're really digging deep into the support pool. I mean, if we don't see Blitz, it would have to be like other kind of course, we're going to see the Blitzcrank. See, that's what I'm like to see here. It's just really nice for GGA's comp. Like overall, like you can really, if you pull the Lulu in the early levels, like it's done. Summoner's blown, maybe dies anyway, and it's done deal here. And the thing too, I talk about Ryoma and how much damage he did in the mid lane towards No Team, towards Blaze last week in the quarterfinals, but a lot of that was also Chime applying so much pressure in the mid lane. Smack said it on the desk. This dude is all over the map from minute 1. The kill participation from minute 1 is insane, and that's something that, I mean, Shochi's gonna have to look for, especially you're playing something like the Victor.
Yeah, and as Stixay on this Aphelios too, you are totally fine, right? Being alone in this lane, with the ability to swap through these weapons, and you know, probably likely, as he's always kind of got Calibrum in the back pocket, right? In case a fight comes out, in case you need to get some additional damage onto a fight that you're trying to continue on. Definitely helpful. Another thing to look at on the side of Immortals AOE is, yeah, they've got these initiators in this front line, but really who's going to be able to soak up a ton of damage? It's going to be tough. It's all on Anime Girl and Winston, so we're going to expect, you know, probably the same kind of build that we were seeing in the last matchup, you know, in the Chem Tank being taken in here for this top laner. But Gwen and Viego, these are the two champions. I always talk about it. If I see the two of them together, or if I see them individually, right, these are champions that they can play from behind. They can get behind. When you get to the later stages of the game, you get like 3 items really on either of them. You know, the Zonias for the Gwen as that 3rd item. So really just kind of like a utility-based one.
It's nuts.
And their survivability is insane. We've seen some crazy plays. Tony Top has played this Gwen quite a bit and had it banned against him in the past. So I feel like GGA is actually pretty comfortable with what they have been able to lock in for this match.
Yeah, I really like GGA's composition here, and especially, like I talk about it all the time, having early game agency is like, super important, especially at this level of play, where you are able to find a lot of openings for something to really go down here. That's why I don't think Immortals AOE are done just in draft here. I mean,
Right.
you still have Jinx, you still have the Victor, you do have a good front line, I think, here, in my opinion. When you think about Zen and the Gragas, I think they'll serve their purposes really well. It's just early in the game, the first couple of minutes, much like I was looking at Mordio in the Winthrop series versus 100 Next, I am looking at Winston to see what he's going to be able to do in the early games. He's not a Zen player who's going to power farm until level 6 before he sees another one of his laners. So I do expect a lot of early play here, especially like I was highlighting it as we got into draft select. That is how Immortals AOE play. A lot of aggression from the jungle role and usually from the support role. Although seeing Trevor on the Lulu this time around doesn't make me think we're going to see as much of it from him here, at least in game 1. And I think that's what's going to give Golden Guardians Academy this opportunity in the early minutes of the game for Chime to be able to move around the map and make moves. As soon as Ryoma hits level 6, he's going to be able to make moves, and considering how much stronger Stix A is going to be in that laning phase, there's a lot that GGA can do early on to be able to play this game, make plays, get ahead.
Yeah, get ahead. And I do think maybe that's a challenge, right? They've got that frontline initiation, but if they get far behind, Gragas and Xin Zhao don't really want to be the ones to soak up the majority of the damage there. Before we get into the game, of course, I do have a little bit more information here for the Unified Premier Proving Grounds Circuit Qualifier. If you want to compete in more amateur esports at one of the highest levels here in NA, Unified Premier is the place to be this spring, of course, as this is the Winter Close Qualifier. So with 3 seasons annually, over $27,000 in prizing just this spring. Amateur and collegiate League of Legends and Valorant teams are invited to apply now. It's through January 24th at midnight. I'm not sure why I've got that, because it's obviously a week past that. You know, of course, there is $4,000 prizing each month just with the unified community. The Platinum League, Gold League, ARAM League. By the way, yes, there is an ARAM League. So anyone who
wait, I want to play in that.
Like
Hold on.
This is monthly. So go to unified.gg/C and you can filter it by the community games there. Yeah, I've been waiting for something like this for a very long time. So you can apply, for these monthly things. It is community, right? It's not restricted to teams that have to qualify in kind of like these close qualifiers have occurred here. So definitely keep an eye on the website and keep an eye on the Twitter page, all that good stuff, right, to see what else is coming through from Premier, because, man, there's a lot of good stuff coming from this group.
There's just so much going on here at Unified year long. And that's just one of many examples, or actually 2 of many examples, because again, that ARAM tournament is very enticing. Yeah. When are they going to release ranked ARAM, Riot? Come on.
For real.
I see it.
That or bring Dominion back, just like, you know, appease me in some way.
I don't actually know what that is.
What?
What?
I guess depends on when you started playing. I didn't start playing until like 5, as we are going to be heading here into game number 1. It was like the other game mode, right? You had ARAM and then you had Dominion. It was like the circle map. And it was like a bunch of bruisers were generally really good on it. It was kind of the same, like 25-minute matches is what you were expecting. So, man, I'm sad that you didn't get to experience Dominion. Actually,
it does feel unlucky, but I've also played Nexus Blitz, so I feel like I've experienced. Okay, I don't want to finish that sentence because everyone is gonna spam ping me, being like, "You don't know, you never played Twisted Tree Line." You know what? Fine, I didn't play it. I'm sorry, but they're never gonna bring it back. No, I started playing in season 10, man. I don't know any of this.
You started playing season 10 beatdown?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. That's hey.
I am a league zoomer, even though I'm like the oldest caster in amateur.
I don't know about that. I do know that you are very knowledgeable, right? Considering that is when you started playing. I got to assume you were watching before that, right?
No, not really.
That's all right. You know what? You just like took a big step up in my book. Not gonna lie, beatdown. There's so much information in this game, so much to understand and comprehend. Too much, yeah. Some would say too much. And yeah, you're way up there. So hey, kudos to you. I mean, yeah, it's sad you didn't get to play those, but you just didn't have the opportunity, right? They were gone before you got in. Gonna find a bit of an engage here. Trevor is going to be pulled in, but Chime takes some responding damage on that one.
Yeah, I don't. That play was a little surprising to me. I mean, ultimately, everybody has pots. They're going to be able to heal up. But, yeah, no, sorry. That just really caught me off guard there. Ultimately, we're looking at Chime. Although you are likely not going to have to push necessarily, the fear of that rocket grab, and the pressure is going to be a big deal here. And one thing, interestingly enough, that we didn't highlight, we talked about Ryoma, great player overall, been a lot of time in the academy scene, or a good amount of time, and has been performing a lot. Let's look at Shochi too. Victor, I think he's played quite a bit and has had some pretty good performances on. And I think the interesting thing about the Victor TF matchup is that, especially if Shochi gets some early gold here, early kills with Winston ganking, you get closer to that first hex core upgrade, which is going to give him a buttload of wave clear, Jolly. And that's the thing with TF. He wants to shove, he wants to roam. And against Victor, especially once you really start to unlock that wave clear, that can be very punishing in terms of gold and XP. So Ryoma is going to have to pick his battles very, very carefully when it comes to actually leaving the lane to try and have an impact.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure coming from that champion. And, you know, once you get the double burst as well, it's something that you got to be careful of as Iconic engaging on this player, right? The range that you have the capability of, including, you know, whether you're looking at the Chaos Storm, whether you're looking really at many of the abilities that he's able to throw out here, they could all be insanely impactful. And all it takes is another second or two to allow Winston to kind of have some sort of response, right? On a play maybe that Iconic decides going on there. We can see so much damage. Ryoma is so incredibly low, likely at around 100 health, maybe just a little bit more than that. And that is not a comfortable place to be when you're already down on creep, when you're already pressured in your lane. We do see Iconic navigating up here. Chime making a move over to the bush as well. They do know that they have pressure. They can try to make a sneaky play like we saw in the past, but not quite in a position to do so.
Yeah, Winston is right there, and I like this. Stixay and Chime are playing a little further back, but as I say it,
it's a flash away from Stixay. Flash in response by Winston onto Stixay. That should easily be first blood, and it's going to go over to Meech on the side of Immortals AOE.
A really nice play coming out from Winston. We talked about how active he is in the early game, and that's already example number one, Jolly. You get first blood on your Jinx. There's going to be a big portion of your late game damage, and I mean, well, at least Iconic's going to get double scuttle, right? I think it was Fire or someone on the desk who was talking about how Scuttle Crab is dead. Well, Iconic doesn't think so.
The vision, honestly, the vision is very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
36 seconds, right, until we do get this this Chemtech Dragon to be spawning for the first one. Yes, that is the Chemtech Dragon, folks. We are still playing on, 1-2, so we are still looking, no soul, right? At least we don't have to worry about that here in this matchup, but man, Immortals AOE starting something good there. We saw Iconic navigate up, right? We saw Iconic maybe looking for something. The members of GGA and Stixay and Chime, they pushed forward, maybe, a little bit too far to allow for some responding pressure there. Iconic's like, okay, fine, you guys don't need me. Ha! Turned out they absolutely did.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you still have a little bit of a CS lead because Stixay and Chime doing a really good job at zoning off the wave. But now after this first recall, we're going to see Chime, what he can do outside of the bottom lane here, because of course Trevor, being the Lulu, is probably just going to walk his way back bottom for the most part. But I'm looking at Chime on the Blitzcrank, see if he can apply pressure to Shochi or someone else, much like he did to Blaze in their series last week. It looks like on this timer they won't be able to, because Shochi does end up recalling. But, I mean, I'm still looking to see what angles they could potentially five here. I mean, Iconic so far has been power farming, which is, I think is okay on the Viego once you get to that level 6. Once you get either Phage or the Sheen, let's hold that thought.
Nice little pop up there as Chime does get the hook. It's going to be a root on top of it. That means that Trevor has to flash away. The Ignite did come out from Chime. There's a lot of damage coming through from Meech. Stixay has to swap focus. And it ends up being kind of just a back and forth swap in damage.
Right, you get the flash out of Trevor and the Ignite, actually, so no sums. If he gets pulled again, it will certainly mean his death. And because, they could actually set up for a dive, maybe. But instead, I think they're going to go for the Dragon just because they have all the pressure here. Chime's walking around with his jungler. Stixay is free to continue shoving the wave, and there isn't really much to be done here. It's worth noting Ryoma is level 6. So he could join the fight even though he is currently on the wave here. And I think that's why Immortals are like, okay, you know what? You can have this one. We'll let it go.
Yeah, TP still available for Tony Top. We just saw Anime Girl use the TP to head back into lane after picking up those Mercs treads. Has the tier, is already stacking that as the first item, of course. Definitely the way to go with this Gragas. Tony Top has Mercs treads as well in response, right? You know, we got a little bit of equal play coming through here, but the teleport not being used means that Tony Top does at least have that bit of advantage in case there is a fight that breaks out towards the bottom half. Probably something they're kind of anticipating given that it was just a long walk back to lane.
And speaking of walk to lane, Chive is here. If he gets the angle, oh yeah. Oh my god, it's perfect.
That's a nice pop-up. Shoji has to flash away. It is the Ignite as well. Out comes the Chaos Storm. Ryoma has to kind of back away from this one, but isn't taking too much damage. A nice little lockdown right there onto Winston. Means that at least Chime and Ryoma are going to be able to get out of that after Iconic loses his life.
Yeah, it is going to be the 1-for-1. Even after death, Shochi was doing quite a lot of damage with that Chaos Storm, but ultimately it is the 1-for-1. It is a nice play, because Shochi doesn't have the TP and will lose out on some gold and XP. And I like that pressure, because Shochi's going to be a big problem later on, too. Oh, goodbye.
Ryoma does find the gold card. Trevor is there in the wings. It's going to have to be a flash over into the Raptor pit. Ryoma gets out with his life.
Does manage to walk away from that one. So it does force his flash, and it means if Winston shows back up again, it could have a really big impact here. But overall, still a pretty, I don't want to say calm. Oh my god.
Nice ulti there. That means the needlework is going to come out in response. There's a lot of damage onto Anime Girl. A lot of regen from Tony Top, but in the end, no death still.
Okay, I was I wondered how that one was going to go for a second here, but ultimately Tony Top still holding on to the TP, can very easily just shove this next wave on the turret and TP back, and it would really set up Iconic for the chance to get that Rift Herald. I think being able to get that, maybe making a play mid or on a play bottom, actually, I think there's any lane you could drop that, and it would end up finding a lot of value for your team here. And in doing so, you get a lot of gold onto your side here. If the dive goes well enough, too, you could even get that first turret. I think getting it onto Stixay, be a really great way to do that. For the moment, we'll have to see. I think it's actually a really nice pink ward in the tri-brush there, just by the Gromp of Winston. It does mean they should know that he is there, at the very least that he is walking to the bottom side of the map.
No pings to come out, at least. And it is kind of a situation where the vision that has been placed here by Chime has been taken down. They are kind of in the middle of this lane, though. Not quite enough pressure to justify walking up towards that lane, given the opportunity that Winston might have to make it through. So it is just going to be a recall. No clear chance here for an engage. And now we've got Iconic on this bottom side. But once again, the pressure is on for the side of Golden Guardians Academy. If we're looking at the CS scores, it is a lead in favor of Golden Guardians. It's literally top to bottom here of this roster. So it is just a very minimal gold lead in their favor. That Dragon does help them as well. We can see Ryoma has a pretty big lead, as well as Tony Top. And then the next one down is all the way on the bottom side of the map in Meech. So feels pretty good to at least have some of these really solid carry potentials on the side of Golden Guardians Academy. Already pretty far ahead. That really sets up a big opportunity here, as you mentioned, beat down for Golden Guardians to say, hey, we got the pressure. That means that we should be able to pick up this first Rift Herald. He's going to abandon it, actually.
Yeah, it's looking like Winston will just walk away from that one. I guess they got the information. Bot lane is on reset. You already know Chime is on the move somewhere other than bot lane, and it's looking like that instinct ends up being correct there. But I kind of want to pull back to that point about Meech that you were talking about here. Yeah, he's been having a bit of a tough time in lane, but that kill ends up, I think, evening out the gold between him and Stixay. And he's a player who has been a pretty big deal for Immortals AOE. Really strong player in that carry position here. And if you get enough gold in this pocket, he can turn games in your favor here. And I think that's what I like about Immortals committing a lot of resources to that top side of the map. Having Winston set up multiple visits there to see if they can keep this Jinx in the game. And oh, here we go.
There it is, the Destiny finally coming out from Chime. This is the first, from Ryoma. This is the first time that we have seen it. A lot of damage onto Trevor Stixay. Able to pick that one up. Now Meech has to hide behind here. We can see this Shochi in.
Oh, nice flash.
The teleport used right there. Ryoma is still going to pick up the one, and Stixay avoids taking damage right there from Shochi. Iconic goes in with the Heartbreaker. It's a nice little lockdown right there on top of it, but it is going to be Chime who goes down in the long run. Chaos Storm not doing any more than that.
Yeah, still, you managed to get the 2-for-1, which I think is still very nice on GGA's side. You don't get the Rift Herald, but that is just free hitting on the tower for your Aphelios, who picked up a kill, who's picking up more CS, and that's some turret plates in his pocket here. Still a very positive play, although it is big for Shochi that he manages to get one in the process here. So it's not going to be like last week. The mid laner of Immortals AOE still very much in this game, Jolly, and you could see it. 2 kills, just like Ryoma. About the same amount of CS, just like Ryoma. And now, Immortals AOE are going to be able to get this second dragon.
Iconic there in the wings, but it is 3 members of Immortals Winston going in on Chime, actually probably getting pulled there in that instance, just trying to navigate his way down to this second dragon of the game. Golden Guardians potentially looking for some sort of pinch here, but it's a very dangerous move. Winston is quite low, though, and you got to consider that Winston's going to want to go in for that smite hit. Chime trying to do a little bit of proxying here on this side. That means the Iconic is able to get in after Winston has to shove himself away from this dragon. Golden Guardians, wonderful play on that.
Yeah, I don't really know what he was looking for there. Maybe he thought he had an angle. Oh, it might have been Chimed, actually, who hooked him and grabbed him. But we're going to see it here, hopefully, in this replay. Okay, it is going to be the Destiny on that bottom lane play. Really nice cinematic coming through, and it's beautiful. You see the way Stixay is making sure Meech can't actually leave, while Chime and Realm make quick work of the support here. And even though... it looks like Stixay actually did get hit by the rocket. Ultimately, it is the 2-for-1, even though Golden Guardians do bite off a little more than they can chew here. Shochi's damage is not to be underestimated.
Yeah, definitely can't discount that. Stixay with a beautiful flash coming in. And yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. It was, the 2v1. That meant that the couple of members of Immortals that were prepping and positioning for that dragon had to come up, respond to help out Winston. Winston moved down and said, I want to do this, but I don't know if I can. Out comes the Chaos Storm again. We're taking a lot of damage, but it doesn't matter because Iconic is able to come through with their own ultimate. Pick up the soul at least here. Winston should be able to line up damage. Iconic able to go. The Heartbreaker comes out at the very end just to keep him alive. Little Timo thumbs up as well coming from Ryoma. Turns into just Shochi going down.
And wow, I mean, Stixay has to back away now because you can see Winston and Co are moving to this side of the map. Really good of him to pay his respects there. And now Chime could go for the rocket grab. I don't think there is the play to be made. However, Ryoma has the Destiny. Oh,
there it is. Under tower. The Crescent Guard is used here by Winston. Only takes a tower shot or so. So I was able to stay alive, but hey, a Q for an ult, so that feels okay for Chime.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a really positive, nice play. You saw Ryoma walking to maybe try and do something about it, but ultimately it wasn't necessary as Winston wasn't able to stay and pressure the rest of the turret going down. And I think that means only Winston walks away with that turret gold. Not much gold going into Meech's pocket as a result here. So I think that's just pretty good for GGA to be able to deny that play here. And you can see it, all these small plays, the CS lead and gold. I mean, yeah, that's just Gwen things. I'm just gonna talk right past it. Oh, wait a minute. Now we got a problem.
The miss on the needlework. In comes Ryoma again. Finds the gold card immediately on that. Anime Girl is going to flash away from this one. Throws out the thumbs up. Ryoma wants to continue this one out. Does hit the gold card, but that's 3 tower shots that Ryoma ends up taking. And you got to imagine Winston is in the wings looking for something here. Winston tries to continue on with the fight, but it's too much damage coming from Tony Top and the Iconic, and Golden Guardians Academy once again find a successful fight.
And it's just play after play after play, Jolly. Golden Guardians Academy are really starting to put the screws to Immortals AOE, and it's just Ryoma again. We talked about how these plays needed to be high value, high impact to justify, well, what Shochi is doing at the moment here. And I think the answer so far for most of these plays has been yes, especially because now Shochi even recognizes he needs to walk away, can't actually apply more pressure. They want to make a play potentially on this bottom side of the map here. At the very least, set up some vision with that Scuttle Crab, because one, you can't afford Meech to feel any more pressure on this bottom side of the map. And with 2 minutes on this next dragon, that's going to be important as well, because that's going to be Golden Guardian Academy's soul point here. And it is a powerful soul as well with the Hex Tech. So it's something Immortals can't allow.
And it is 15 and a half minutes in, right? We're looking at a little bit more than a 4K gold lead. It's not huge, but it is still something that you have to consider with the item builds, right? We've got the Everfrost finish. You've got all these first items along with finished boots and portions of the next item. We can see the Dark Seal has been picked up here by Ryoma. 6 stacks available on that. The Dark Seal was picked up also by Shochi, who hasn't been able to get any stacks because it was a little bit longer on the pickup there. Winston looking for an opportunity. That's a lot of damage as the Chaos Storm comes out once again. Tony Top trying to navigate his way down, but Trevor is also here. 2 more members of Golden Guardians Academy trying to navigate their way up through this riverside. And even with that Hallowed Mist, it's not going to be quite enough speed. But man, Golden Guardians, they're getting themselves almost every single objective aside from that first Rift Herald.
And it's so hard, too, when you're behind and you're losing vision in your own side of the map against something like a Blitzcrank. And the gold that GGA have as well is nothing to sneeze at. The gold lead is so high. And at this point, oh my god, Chime, like, you have to play so far back, even for how they tried to cover the mid lane play there, just to make sure they don't try and dive Shochi. They still have to pay their respects to Chime on this Blitzcrank and make sure they don't get pulled in, because the isolation that comes from it, and just the popping like a balloon is something that Immortals AOE can't afford right now. And speaking of things they can't afford, Jolly, 20 seconds. So Golden Guardian Academy soul point here. The reset is through. The gold has been spent. And now they're on their way down. Even more noteworthy, Anime Girl, no TP, won't be up in time. Tony Top, though, does have it.
It's a Hex Tech Drake as well. Definitely something that you really don't want to give over here to Golden Guardians Academy.
Oh, they're just letting it go.
They are. I mean, you know what? There's not a ton that can be done there. Like, you don't have flashes available on anyone aside from Meech here. As for the secondaries, you make from it what you can, right? We have some pressure here in the mid lane, maybe trying to position around this second Rift Herald of the game, but it was such a quick take here for Golden Guardians Academy that they had the opportunity to respond to that one, no problem.
Oh, God, speaking of response, Tony Top. A lot of people on this top side of the map. Objective bounties are up for Immortals AOE because this gold lead is really starting to grow. So they will get bonus gold for every member with the grabbing of this Rift Herald. And I think Golden Guardians are okay with that. They're going to put a lot more of their efforts in the mid and other side of the map here. As you can see, Ryoma is pushing that bottom turret. He's actually going to go ahead and push towards the tier 2. And look, none of these recalls have started yet. It's just Anime Girl walking down to try and match him, which means a lot of damage is going to go down on this turret. And gold-wise, I mean, GGA is still ahead.
2 towers. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. And I think the first tower did end up going down after that 14-minute mark, so it was not full play. So picked up a look. This Trevor, oh my gosh, surviving for maybe a second in that fight. So much already coming out as Chime uses the ultimate.
I mean, it's so hard to try and ward as an enchanter overall, unless your jungler is with you. It's even worse when you're playing into a Blitzcrank. It's just actually not allowed. Yeah. You can't use your support item. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't make the rules, okay? Like, it's Chime. Look at him.
And not only that, but like, you really don't want to have to use the wild growth on yourself. So you kind of just acknowledge, all right, I'm going to die here. Iconic going in looking for something. Ryoma is going to find the gold card on that, but not quite enough damage being dealt to the tower for them to consider a dive here. No eyes on that teleport that is coming through. It is going to be a 3v4. Shochi coming in. Stixay on the backside. Might not be able to get
Tony
there in time.
Top.
Tony Top way in the back of this fight. Tries to get some snips on them, but it's not going to be enough, including that needlework. Just not quite enough damage. Ryoma now on the run.
Nice.
Stixay has to realize, oh my god, beautifully done right there. Stixay able to throw the ultimate out over every single member, and while they lost one, they could have lost a lot more.
Yeah, still, it is a kill in Meech's pocket, which really is needed for the side of Immortals AOE. He's down 40 CS at this point, and it's been a tough time for this Jinx here on the red side. They're going to be able to get more objective bounties as that pressure from getting rid of Tony Top means they can push this bottom turret. They can start to invade a little bit more. As you can see, Winston kind of testing the waters a little bit, taking some more aggressive pathing, as he's going to also allow another bounty to be claimed here for Meech in the mid lane. And again, still has that Rift Herald. Any bonus gold you can get onto this AD carry is going to be really important. But these are all just... This is all just... how do I explain this? Look, they're still really far behind, Jolly. They still got to do a lot more.
Yeah, they do, but you know what? You can get another 5-7 minutes into this game, get another couple of items onto the Jinx, right? She only has that single item pickup, whereas you do already have 2 here for Aphelios, as well as putting a lot of vision into the pockets of Golden Guardians Academy. They've been focusing on that a lot. Chime, not even knowing if he's gonna get the hit there onto Winston. Is going to come through. Ryoma using the Destiny once again. The flash forward from Winston isn't going to be enough, though. Shochi is on the backside of this fight, has the ultimate once up and available again here. Ryoma might be caught out here. The Chaos Storm dealing a lot of damage, but a beautiful grab from Chime is going to allow 1 kill to go over in favor of Golden Guardians Academy.
Man, that is a painful catch out here. No Shochi means it's time to start the Baron. And at this point, too, you still have a lot of ults to play with here. Look at how low Winston is. He hasn't recalled, and they have that information now. Look at Chime. You're kidding me.
It's Trevor, the Hex Flash. The jump in, the soul pickup onto this Lulu. Tony Top is aggressing heavily using the needlework, jumping in on that one. It's going to be a nice exploding cast, but it puts Tony Top in the perfect position to just say, thank you, Snip Snip, you are dead. Bye, Anime Girl.
Yeah, now this time for real, they can go ahead and start the Baron as Golden Guardians are just continuing to bulldoze Immortals AOE. We thought this would be the tighter of the series for tonight, but something tells me we may have been wrong. At least this game 1.
Ooh, it was a nice attempt there. It was blind, unfortunately, for Immortals AOE. You got to kind of guess the timing there for Meech. Hey, it's worth it to at least throw out the Super Mega Death Rocket. Pretty low cooldown on that one. But let's take another look at that fight, how it started with Chime's Hex Flash.
Yeah, and this is the one that
Oh,
started.
how it started here?
Yeah, I was gonna say this one started like at the very beginning here. Chime saw it. He had a feeling the recall was coming through, and he just full sent it. The Destiny follow-up means Winston, even though he doesn't fall, he gets very brutally chunked out. And Shochi, you could see it. Winston can't go back in. He definitely gets a little too aggressive here because look at that. Rocket grabs off cooldown, and even with the wild growth, he's going to end up falling apart here. And because of that, you give the setup for this bait to essentially come through here. This isn't the real Baron Star, Jolly. Oh, actually, we have a fight going on both sides, too.
It's Chime. It's all thanks to Chime being in prime positioning. We can see another fight is already going on. Ryoma sitting at Unstoppable. So many ultimates have come out here. Iconic, it looks like, also just used the Heartbreaker. Now it's just going to be GGA oppressing this mid lane, finding themselves the 5th tower for their team in the game. And now extending that gold lead to about 8,000 in their favor.
Oh, it's going to keep growing, Jolly. You know this mid inhibitor is under threat. The top outer turret, the last one outside of Immortal's base, is about to fall. And what else, Jolly? That Hextech Dragon Soul. Extra damage coming through here for the side of Golden Guardians Academy. This is what we in the business call a doomer.
Yeah, and the Hextech, you know, the Hextech Dragon, the Soul on the Rift as well is huge on this one, right? Not just the buff for the individuals themselves, but also just a little bit of additional navigation here for both of these teams. And let's take a look at the start of this fight as we were watching another replay when this one broke out.
Right, and this is the play here. It starts because Golden Guardians say, okay, you get to river first, we're going to push this mid wave, but they also have that option to just walk into the enemy jungle here.
Oh.
Chime doesn't even go down. The damage is just too big here, and they get caught basically transitioning into that mid lane to see if they can protect that mid tier 2 turret. And at this point, it means Iconic is free to get the soul by himself. His team is just free to open the base.
Yeah, Chime, I cannot believe, honestly, that Chime didn't even go down in that fight. We saw how much damage Ryoma provided over the wall. That was insane. Layer that on top of Stixay's damage, and you're not even going to get to the point where you need to with this Jinx. 225 CS to 187 at this point in the game. If you're Jinx, right, you're trying to side lane. You're trying to get yourself ahead in creep, but it did not happen. And that means the Golden Guardians is going to find themselves the first inhibitor of the game. The 7th tower for themselves, make that 8 and 9, given 2 inhibitors going down on top of it, so that gold lead is just going to continue to increase, and they are looking for a fight. They still have the Baron buff applied. They have cannon minions right now in Immortal's base. They're looking to potentially end the game right here, right now.
They have the Baron buff. They have Baroned up minions. There isn't much Immortals AoE can do, but they have to make a stand now or they're going to lose game 1.
Could be it. It's going to be the rocket grab. It's a pull onto Winston. He uses the Crescent Guard to get away. Anime Girl has been picked out by Stixay and Tony Top. Chaos Storm comes out onto Ryoma and Iconic. Tony Top manages to find that one. This is the survivability that I'm talking about. This is absolutely insane. Out of somebody like a Gwen, the triple kill pickup. It's not quite an ace because Anime Girl is back on base, but this is the end of the game, and pretty decisively, just over 25 minutes. Golden Guardians Academy are going to take game number 1 in this best of 3, setting themselves up with a match point in our last series for playoffs here for Proving Grounds Closed Qualifier. They are setting themselves up so well to go into tomorrow to face off against 100 Thieves next, as they have already locked themselves in, and it's only going to take one more game for them to find themselves in that position.
Wow, Golden Guardians Academy. Wow. Insanely dominant game from start to finish there. And I mean, okay, part of it is like, you can't let Chime do that. You can't pick an enchant. No. Were you guys watching last week? That's not okay. And then basically Chime he just got to run it back and do it all again. They got to run run the laning phase, and you get to a point where even if you're slightly behind, you can't move around the map very much by yourself, because chances are, even if you do, you get isolated, you get pulled by that rocket grab, and you just get destroyed.
That's what's going to happen every single time you put him on somebody as comfortable as this Blitzcrank. And I think we even had, you know, the Braum lock away, or the Braum ban away from Immortals AoE. So hopefully they recognize, hey, you know what, if it's Chime. We even saw the images, right, in the little matchups that the analyst desk was going over, and it was Blitzcrank for Chime, right? That's what we know him for. And so We got to anticipate maybe either a ban for that or no Enchantress pickup, because that's going to put Chive in a prime position here. But we are going to take a very quick break before heading into game number 2. And of course, we're going to have a little bit of a chat with the analyst desk before they toss it back to us. So stick around. We will be right back with more Proving Grounds Close Qualifiers.